all those that he gave scholarship will come to collect their school fees and so on and so forth. Mine was the first time to come and initiate and start my own school at Nsukka.
Okay, let's go back to the beginning. You know, you said you spent growing up, your growing up period in ENUGU, in Lagos, and in the village. Where were you born? Were you born in the village, or your parents were already out of the village?
My parents were living in Calabar. Okay. You know, in good old days, the policemen, they are polygamous. And when they marry 2 or 3, a wife gets pregnant, you go home to the village. After having your baby, you come back to the station. Maybe by then the other wife would have taken in. He will come back. So I think when I was due, my mom came back to our village, Afikpo. I was born in Afikpo. After that, then she went back to Calabar with me. From there, as I was growing up, I remember that we lived at the police barrack along Ugui Road in ENUGU.
In ENUGU.
Yes. So that's where I started my primary school. And then we moved. My father was transferred. My father was a policeman. And he rose to the rank of a sergeant major. And in those good old days, sergeant major was, I think, the highest post. Unless you have gone to secondary school or standard 6, you can go above sergeant major. So in all the barracks we lived, in ENUGU and in Lagos, my father was in charge. Mm-hmm. He was the chief there. So growing up in ENUGU, I went to Salvation Army Primary School. Yeah. There at
Morehouse, yes.
Yes. After that, when my father was transferred to Lagos, I think my father opened one of the best barracks built then in the 60s. That was called Queen's Barrack in Apapa. So he opened that barracks and was in charge. When we got there, it wasn't easy to find a school for us. I think in the end, we had to go to Ajeromi Central School or something like that. Ajeromi Central School. It is in Lagos that my father retired and went back home. All of us, we went back home from Lagos, and I completed my primary school at Afikpo. Okay. Presbyterian School, Afikpo. It was there in Afikpo that during the campaign, my father now went into politics. From stories, I learned that he also worked when he was in Lagos for Zik, or I don't know, but the story is that once in a while, the police people will come, you know, for campaign. At least he knew Zik before me. Okay. So during campaign, 1961 or 62 or 63, I don't know the year, they came for campaign. And I'm a good dancer. I dance Nkuma.
Do you still dance?
I still dance. Anytime. I got the one I had, I can So there were 4 of us, 4 girls, that danced that day. My elder sister is the leading, was, because she's now late, the leading dancer, and I come last, 4 of us. My sister leads, and I will come at the rear. Okay. And you know that dancing, the leader and the rear dancers are the best. So it was after the dancing, during the campaign, that a representative from my area, Chief Nnachienwo, was contacted by Zik. And then that those who danced, that he want to help. By then, I think I had taken my standard 6. My sister was trained as a teacher by my father. Then the other lady, the other girl, I've forgotten. I don't know what happened to the other 2. But it just happened that my sister and myself were the people Zik
gave scholarship.
Gave scholarship. My sister, he gave her work in Lagos, in the office, I don't know where. But I was the one that was given scholarship to KRSS. So he found the school. He got in touch with the Reverend Sisters in KRSS in Nsukka. And I was admitted. to do my secondary education there, which was interrupted by the Civil War. So 1965 to 67, we all left Nsukka, went back home, and then the war raged. We moved from one place to the other until after the war. I got in touch again with him to inform him that the war is over. Is the scholarship still on? And he said yes. And then, instead of coming back to QRSS, because of the distance and the cost, and he wasn't in the country, he was still in London, I had to go to Holy Child Secondary School, Sharon, Abakaliki.
Okay.
Yeah, that's where I completed my secondary school after the war. Then it was during that, after the war, that the meeting moved from father, daughter, or mentor, whatever. So after the war, it seems as if he got interested. Okay. Because personally, not even in my wildest dream, I will never dream of marrying Nnamdi Azikiwe. It wasn't in my dictionary.
It wasn't in your radar.
It wasn't in my dreams. It wasn't in anything. All I wanted is education, and then that's all. So after the war, he now said...
You were still in secondary school?
Yes, after the war, in Sharon. He said, maybe after school, what would I want to do? I said, nothing. Because that was what I was always saying when we were playing at home. My elder brothers, I would say, I will be a nurse, I will choke you with my needle and so on. I said, nothing. He said, okay, that he will arrange to send me to the hospital in London, where the two sisters, either three sisters or cousins or relations that he trained as nurses, were trained in London. I said, okay, fine for me. And then there was the niece, Franca, the last child of the only sister Owele had. Franca and myself would have gone abroad to, I don't know whether Franca was going for nursing, but my arrangement was for nursing. It was in the process to arrange for that nursing that the issue of getting married came up. Then, immediately after the war, to show how kind he was, I don't know, but I know that he sent my father money. He sent school fees, my school fees, to complete my secondary education. All those he had something to do with, he sent them money to enable them recover from the war. Yeah. So he sent my father some money. I don't know how much it was, but I think either twice or once, immediately after the war. And it helped the family to stabilize and take off from the war devastation. So after the secondary school, and then when I went for preparation to go for this nursing school, he said, okay, why don't you stay action now? Let's see. I'll get in touch with the hospital in London. It seems that God had another plan. Before the arrangement for the hospital for training as a nurse, something else came in, and we became married.
Tell me how you felt the first time he suggested that he would want to be your husband, and this was human being. A human being getting married to God. That was the way it always was. Because even as a little boy too, I heard the stories about holding the key to the ocean and all that. So, at that point that Zeke made that proposal, what happened to you?
I think this question has been asked severally, and I said no.
You told him no?
Yes, I said no, because it wasn't what I came in for. I wanted to go further, to read, to be somebody. And I can't imagine myself marrying somebody like that. You know, it wasn't in my mind at all. Marriage was never crossed my mind. So when he proposed, and I still remember where he proposed, it was in Lagos. When he came back from London after the war, he had a residence, a house by the government, given to him by the government along Queen's Drive, Victoria, is it Ikoyi? Queen's Drive, Ikoyi. So I accompanied him to Lagos in the course to arrange for the trip to London. And the question popped up. I want to marry you, or was it, will you marry me? And I said, no. That was my first reaction. But he didn't say anything else. So when we came back to Onitsha, I started thinking over it. I said, what happened? What really happened? Then I think maybe he asked, why did I say no? I said, I want to go to London to, as you said, you send me to go and do nothing. He said, okay. With time, that's why I always conclude that it is divine intervention. I think it is God's plan, and there is no way you can change it. I couldn't change it, because when I said no, remember, I think I was 26 years. So I want to make it clear again. They normally say 16 years. I wasn't 16 years. I've gone through secondary school that was interrupted by 3 years. Mm-hmm. So I was born 1947, February 4th, 1947. So 1993, I was 26 years. So I wasn't a child. 1973.
Okay, 73.
Yes, 1973. I was 26 when we got married. So when we came back from Lagos, that was when I started reviewing the question in Lagos. And then...
Did you talk to your parents or talk to your friends?
Me? I talked only to my elder sister, my late elder sister. After a while, I said, this is what... Because we call him Oga. This is what Oga asked me if I will marry him. And my sister said, what did you say? I said, no.
What was her reaction?
She didn't come out openly. She just laughed over it. Because that's the same sister he gave a job in Lagos. So, but there was no other, will you marry me again? It seems as if within me, I came to realize maybe this is what God wants, so I don't know. So with time, the next thing I heard, I want to go to see your parents, I want to go and do your traditional blah, blah, blah. I didn't say no again.
Anyway, we'll come back to that story.
Okay.
So where did you now pick up with the education?
Yes, in Sharon. The schooling after the war was terrible. If you go to the dormitory, we were cooking for ourselves, no money, no beds, nothing. We used carton. We spread carton on the 6-spring bed that we met in the school. So I met many girls, some living in ENUGU, some of them my classmates living in Abakaliki and other places. So when I got married, I got to know that some of them are in the University of Nigeria in Nsukka. Anyway, before then, I told him that when we got married, that after having my children, I'd like to go back to school. He said, no problems. So by chance, I met one of them, close friends in the secondary school. And I think she was in the 3rd year or 2nd year, because we left Sharon 1971. Maybe they got admission 72. So by 73, 74, 73 I've had my baby December, and then I met one of them. It rekindled our lives in the secondary school. And I said, I think it was Hilda Ndulue or Ngozi Onyedika, the Onyedika of NTA, Ngozi Nsien. So they told me they're in the university. I said, eh? And, it clicked. I said, okay, university community, no problem. So they visit me during weekends, we chat and remember the good old days. Many of my classmates in secondary school. So that sort of said, well, I saw my classmate, third year, second year, and so on, and I'm still in the house with school certificate. It just dawned on me that I have to go back to school. Frankly speaking, he was keen, eager for me to go to school. So when I had my second baby, the one living here, 1975, I said, I think it's time. By then, they have graduated and left the university,
Your friends?
my friends. And I said, I think I have to go back to school. We were the last set that took the common entrance. You know, in those good old days, each university have their common entrance exam. We were the last set, 1977. I took the first one when I had work in 1975. In short, I went straight from maternity where I had my baby to take the exam. So I didn't make it that first attempt. Then it was 1977 that I got admission into the university to read education English.
Okay. I mean, when looking back in what Nigeria is today, one would have said you were married to the Zik of Africa and you failed to get admission, and he didn't do anything about it.
It was common entrance. I didn't make it. And he didn't do anything. He didn't say a word.
To anybody?
To anybody. And I didn't even ask, can you help me? I knew that I didn't make it. There was no point going to beg or doing something. I had to repeat. No, I had to repeat the next year.
So when you graduated, what happened? You elected to go back to the university?
When I graduated, what really happened also was when I became bored at home, doing nothing, I started making trouble, you know. I don't like staying at home. What would you want me to be doing? He said, okay, let's find something, somewhere you'll be going. I think he talked to either Board of Education. I started teaching in a primary school in Nsukka. And it was during that period that I sat for the exam in 1977 and got admission. So I just taught 1 year in the primary school. Okay. So, and then after 4 years, I did education English. After 4 years, I was posted straight by State Education Board to a secondary school where I did my youth service. I went for my youth service in ENUGU. Okay. I spent the 1 month, or is it 4 weeks, for training in ENUGU. It will show you that he is someone who obeys the law, because some people will say, why don't you go and press button, and you wouldn't go for the youth service training. I went for the youth corps at ENUGU for 4 weeks. We spent there. Came back before we were posted to the secondary school. So, I sort of, within me, I wanted to be somebody. I don't want to be under the shadow of Zik, Nnamdi Azikiwe. Yes. Because some people were saying, why is she wasting her time going to school when she's sitting on top of money? But there was no money there. People didn't know that what we had there was just name, and goodwill. So one of them will say, Uche, why are you wasting your time? Why would you want to suffer? I said, it's not suffering. I want to be myself. And it is based on my upbringing. My father was a disciplinarian. My mother was very hardworking, industrious. In short, they share school fees, those of us that were going to school, because my 2 elder brothers went to Metropolitan College, Onitsha. During beginning of the term, my father will call my mom, bring your own share of the school fees. My mother will bring, because he had retired, so he has cause to say, bring your own share. So my mother was very industrious. She's a trader, she's a farmer, she sews, she does brukutu, BKT, Joro, all these things, whatever she can to make sure that whenever my father calls on her to bring her own share of the school fees, she will do that. And my father was a disciplinarian. I think it sort of prepared me. You don't step out of the house during holidays in my father's house. You do not go out. Immediately you get into the compound, you can just go fetch water, go to the market, go on errand, but to just you dress up and walk, you want to go and visit your friends. It never happened to me. Immediately I come back on holidays, it's inside the compound.
So when you finished your youth service, did you go back to the secondary school?
Yes, teaching.
Yes.
I started teaching in the secondary school. After 5 years, then I said I have to go. And the story was that first degree doesn't mean anything nowadays.
Yeah.
You better, if you want to be a principal, want to move to that stage, you must have a second degree. So I went back. It was easy for me because all these 4 years I was going from my house to the school. Yeah. It was during the degree period, my last 81, that I pleaded with him to allow me stay in the hostel. During the day, I will come back, look after the house, then I go back and sleep in my... They gave me a room in the sisters, where they give Reverend Sisters accommodation in Okpara Hall. So I kept doing that until after my degree. I thank God I made 2-2, combining everything, child, taking care of the child. Because there was one thing he told me. He said, yes, I want you to go to school, but remember you have a lot on your plate. You are a mother to your 2 children. They are still growing. You are a wife to me. You are also my mother. So you have to combine. And then a housekeeper. I wouldn't want house help, stewards, or cook to take care of my home or my meal, even though we have them, but you must see to what is being prepared. So it wasn't easy to combine all these things. So when I was able to make it my undergraduate, I said, oh, I have to go further. So I applied for, master's was part-time. Okay. Yes, it was part-time. You just register and go to lectures during exams. They can have your lectures during holidays when the regular undergraduates are on holidays. So it was a little bit easy for one to manage the home and the education. So we went, I had my second master's. In the course of that second master's, this issue of gender inequality came in. That was when the United Nations started this Women Decade, 1980, is it 85, 82 to a period of 10 years, yeah, that the United Nations dedicated for women. I got interested. That was what led me to doing the second master's. I got interested because my first master's was in curriculum language, since I did education English, okay, so that I would teach English all along. So when this gender issue came in and I became interested, for me to do my PhD in gender studies, it can't be based on the curriculum language I had. So I had to move over to do another master's, education, sociology of education / gender studies. That's why I had the second master's, which now enabled me to do my PhD in sociology of education, gender studies.
Okay, we'll take a break, and when we return, we look at your life with the Gwezik. Don't go away, my guest, Professor Uche Azikiwe. I also forgot to say that she has the national honor of MFR. Don't go away. Glad to know you're still with us on In Your Own Words. My guest today is Professor Uche Azikiwe, wife of the great Zik of Africa. Prof, you know, and I'm sure this is what happens everywhere you go. I'm Professor Uche Azikiwe, and it's like, tell us about the great Zik. You got married to him in 1973, yes, which means you were not with him while he was president.
No.
But you shared a lot of stories. What
Yes.
did he tell you about the agitation for Nigeria's independence?
A lot. He said a lot, and I also read a lot on my own about the agitation for Nigerian independence. When he was, according to him, when he was in US, and Lincoln, and so on and so forth, he felt that there is nothing that can stop an African from being like the white men. Because according to him, in Lincoln, he was competing with all the whites and everything. So what's the difference? Why is it that they look down on black people? One of the tauntings that, according to him, hurts him so much was when they go to the zoo. He said other colleagues, African Americans, not even Oyibo, they would say Zeke, because that's where the Zeke started, when they couldn't pronounce Azikiwe. Zeke, have you come to see your cousin? That's monkey in the zoo. Have you come and see your cousin? Because initially he wanted to fight. After a while, he said no. So within him, he said, I must make sure, I must prove to the white people or to Americans that blacks can make it in any field. And that was why he did law, he read sociology, almost all programs, just to garner the wealth of knowledge that what he needed to fight when he gets back to Nigeria. And that was one thing. When, I don't know, he said he applied for a job, and because of his color, they turned him down. And from that day, he dropped the name Benjamin, because his name is Benjamin Nnamdi Azikiwe, that he has nothing to do with English name again. That was when he dropped the name Benjamin and said, my name now is Nnamdi Azikiwe, no more Oyibo English name. So when he came back, first to Ghana, because he wasn't able to get something doing in Nigeria in 1930, I think 30 something, when he left, because he didn't want to spend any day beyond, one day beyond his graduation. Yes, education and working there. So when he got to Ghana, and then he started his agitation, independence, setting Africans free, and that was landed him in trouble in the Morning Post, I think Morning Post in Ghana. Luckily, they did not jail him. He now said, okay, let me go back home to Nigeria and start my own paper. And that was what led him to come back. And, newspaper here, he had chains of newspapers scattered all over Nigeria: Kanu, Port Harcourt, Lagos, Enugu, Onitsha. What for? He said, it is through communication and information that you can make people understand that this is right, this is wrong, or this is the best thing for us to do. That was why he had all these news. And he made it as a journalist. He had news. Everybody, just that unfortunately West African Pilot is no more there. But I'm sure if you go to London, you will see copies of West African Pilot there to see what he used his newspaper to do. What for? I want my people to be free. I want my people to be free. That's all. You can now go. We are ready to take care of ourselves. So I think God had prepared him to lead Nigeria. And you see, he was not just Nigeria. Even Africa, West African Pilot, the bank, African Continental Bank. His view was beyond Nigeria.
Yeah.
He was a Pan-African. And when people are talking of Pan-Africanism and they don't mention him, I get sad. Because he was the one who initiated this. The Nkrumah they always mention, Nkrumah was mentored by Zeke. It was Zeke who gave Nkrumah address to go to Lincoln when he was in Ghana. Yes, it was Zeke when he came back to Ghana and so on that he now made Nkrumah to go to Lincoln to study and so on. So I think God prepared him to be a leader, to lead Nigeria and Africa into freedom.
Let me ask you, is Zeke a normal human being? Was he a normal human being?
Later on, I found
wakes
out
up, wakes up in the morning,
yes,
cries.
Yes. When I was going for this NYSC, I saw something dropping. I said, "What's the matter? I'll come back." He said, "Why? How can you leave the children, everybody?" I said, "It's just 1 month. I'll be coming back every weekend from Ogu during the orientation." Zeke
was an emotional person.
He was. He was. But you know, these big men, they try to stifle their feelings when they're in the public. They stifle their feelings. Because if they go soft, then the followers.
What would they do?
So the best thing is for them is to put up that spirit.
How did you cope with Zeke's older children? Because he had children before.
Yes.
You got married to him.
Yes. That's another story. All right. Let's forget about that. The Lord is in control. Okay. My children are okay. We are fine. Yes. Okay. Yes.
So, the other thing, you were already with him before what I call his second missionary journey in politics.
Yes.
The 1979. Mm-hmm. Why did he want to go back to politics? I mean, here he was deified by everyone. What drove him?
You know, when the little I know, one thing is that I didn't support that attempt. I didn't. Because I liked the quiet way we were living. Very quiet, 24/7. He doesn't go out. Then when I started going to school, that's only when I leave the house. All along, we all stayed together. So when this issue of coming 1979, I said no. I think it was pressure from our people. Pressure. I noticed that Nwobodo, all these, the NPP people, they were all streaming. From morning till 12 midnight, people will be coming, pleading with him to come out. They need a leader. There is nobody that can shield them, that can stand, and then they queue behind, and so on. I think after a while, he just succumbed to come out and say, "Let me give them that leadership." I think that's what happened.
Was he a restless person?
No, very calculated, very calm. He can sit on a scorpion and you wouldn't know. Very calm and calculated. That's why he survived in US, survived in Nigeria. According to him, he ran marathon for Lincoln University barefooted. Cold weather, the road, barefooted, and won marathon. And another one, when he got to Lincoln, according to him, there was no fees because the father had retired, and then nowhere to get funding for his education. He went into boxing. He went into boxing.
And boxed his way through school.
But after, he said, there's money in boxing according to him, but you will suffer for that money. At a tournament, he said the opponent gave him one blow below the plexus, and he saw stars, 20 stars. He woke up, and the trainer was saying, "Zeke, get up. Zeke, get up." He looked at the man and said, "This man doesn't know that I'm the only son of my mother." I'm the only son of my mother. If I die here, my mother is gone. He removed his gloves. No more. He said, "There's money in boxing, but if you don't take care, you will die there."
They said he had a large sense of humor.
Very, 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 very large sense of humor. For instance, when we have visitors, and I present cola in Onitsha, yes, I forgot to know, I hold the title in Onitsha. The highest association, society for women in Onitsha is the Utuodo, yeah. Prestigious Utuodo society. And I've been initiated into that society. And my title name is Enyi Nwanonako. So when visitors come and you present cola, he will break the cola and give you the wife or the woman that brought the cola, your own share of the cola. You have to genuflect to receive the cola, not. He will just say, "Be careful. I know that you've tied up yourself to have a shape. Be careful so that whatever you use in tying yourself will not snap." you know, and to the hearing of everybody, what do? He said, okay, he was humorous. He was humorous. And I think even late MT Mbu will never, I don't think there's anything that will make MT Mbu not to be behind Zik in anything that Zik is doing. He will always say, Zik is a leader. Humor, he's a good listener. He will listen to every opinion before decision is taken. Calm and calculated, intelligent, and so on and so forth. So I think he was an all-rounder.
He was such a busy man, you know. He was such an important man. Did he have time for the family, for the kids?
I think I was lucky to come into his life when he had time for the family. To be frank with you, no politician has time for the family because they're always on the go, they're always having meetings. We always complain now that when do they have their meetings? At night, nocturnal. That's why most women are not part of their meetings at night. I wasn't there in his life but from experience, I know that if you marry a politician, just decide on your own that you have to take care of your family, take care of the children while your husband is there. If you want your husband to be with you, then he will not make it in politics.
Did he ever share with you his regrets in life?
Were there things that he would have wanted to do other ways?
If he had a second life or something?
I can't recall, but all I know is that after the war is what Nigeria looks like then. It's not what he dreamt about when he came back. He thought that by 1970, Nigeria will be leading the world, or let me say Africa. It's true that we call ourselves giant of Africa, but it's indeed an action. We are not giant of Africa in many ways. So I think that's the only way he always complained. But he never lost hope. He just said Nigeria will still make it, but this is not what I struggled for or what I expected.
Okay, let's leave Zik for a while. You know, you went to read a course in gender.
Yes.
And all these years, you've been a strident voice on gender issues. Do you think that the average Nigerian woman has been given a proper opportunity to be what he or she wants to be?
No. It hasn't even been done in developed world like America and Britain. Women are not given the opportunity of freedom. How much more Nigeria, Africa?
What is the problem? You know, you talked about women not participating in politics as much as they should because the men are always having the meetings in the night.
In the night, yes. Yes, culture.
Was it calculated to keep the women away?
You know, the world is a man's world. They will quote the Bible, Adam and Eve. God removed Adam's rib. And then I normally give them a jab. If God removed Adam's rib, it then means women are stronger. You are just ordinary dust. Men, dust. But woman has a bone there in her. Yes, that's what the Bible says, and that's what they use. I don't think our women have been given enough time, freedom, opportunity. No, they haven't. Like in sociology, it's culture. Culture will come in, religion will come in, and then the home. The woman is made to nurture the home. And if you pursue politics and you lose your children, you have yourself to blame. That's why it seems as if when a woman is in politics, you run 10 yards or 10 feet, you go back to look at your family to see what is happening there. Because if you abandon them, you have yourself to blame. In the end, you regret it. So I don't think that our women have been given the opportunity.
What do you think is the roadmap for women to, better their lot?
I think this 35% affirmative action, if we will start from there. And so some people will agree with me, but I don't mind. If they say 35%, every party will say 35%, give it to women. Don't encroach into that 35%. Use your 75% men. let women come out with that 35%. That's the only way. Because if you say 35%, and then during primaries, you do your meetings at night, and the women will not be there. During campaign, thuggery, killing, maiming, no woman would like to be part of thuggery and so on. So there is no level playing ground for women to come in. That's why I'm proposing that 35%, give it to women. If they want to pick and choose, fine. If they will do it within amongst women, let them do it and let it be. Anywhere we go, 35% of women are there.
Okay, you've gotten to the peak of your profession. Today you're a professor at the University of Nigeria. But again, even with all that, you're still striving to improve yourself. And I'm tempted to ask, what are you pursuing? When you got married to Zik, everybody was like, oh, she should be contented. You wanted to improve yourself. You didn't want to be under his shadow. Today, you're a professor. You have a PhD. You still want to go to Harvard. You're still writing papers. What is driving you? And where are you going?
I am not pursuing anything now. I think what I'm trying to do is just to keep myself going until the last day. I can say I wouldn't work. I'll be able to feed myself. I thank God my children are all doing very well in their careers. They are not dependent on me. All I think I will do now is to take care of my grandchildren, 6 of them, and by the grace of God, I still have more. I think as long as one is alive and breathing, you can't just cross your hands and lie on the bed and then I'm still strong, you know. I'm not sickly. I'm still mentally alert, so I can't find myself sitting down doing nothing. And I don't think all I'm trying to do after retirement, I retired in February after making 65 years. I just want to keep my life going, keep myself busy. You know, when you are idle and doing nothing, the nerves, the bones, you know, they get bad, weak. I'm still young and mentally alert to do more for the nation. Not that I'm going there for money. I think I'm going there to make name, to add value, to at least give back to the society. It's not what to make from the society, just to give back to the society.
What is going to occupy you in this new life that you're going into? You are retired. What is going to take your attention? Are there campaigns you want to pursue?
Yes, well, I have an NGO for widows. It's called Widows Lifeline. And the objective is to take care of, help, assist widows and their families and other less privileged Nigerians. For some years now, I've been sponsoring some children, scholarship, some primary, some secondary, some university. Even in my church, I'm playing a very significant role in the church. I'm an Anglican, a knight of the Anglican Church. I have also sponsored a priest, you know, training our pastor, and I have in mind training more. I want to open a school, to run a school in my compound at Nsukka. Just so that in the morning I just walk down,
and then mentor little children.
Mentor little, and then the teachers and so on and so forth. I've been advised to apply for contract, you know, in the university. If you apply, then you'll be renewed every year until you get to 70 years, which I have applied. If the VC obliges and then approves the contract, then it will be every other year. I will also, I have a program in Abuja. I want to put up Nnamdi Azikiwe Housing Estate. I've applied to the FCT. The application was approved, so we are waiting for allocation of land. to wherever we are given, we try to put up houses. At least from that angle, will help for the housing problem in Abuja. There are other things I want to do, but I have to take it one at a time.
Okay. So let me go back to your life with Zik. What do you think was his guiding principle? What was it that took a rural boy to the United States, brought him back, and took him to the height of his nation, becoming the first president, and then was a sage all through his life? What was that thing? I mean, in living with him, what was that driving force for Zik?
Helping others, helping people in need. If you read some of his poems, he has 2 books of poems, and I even published the 3rd one. Is it the 3rd? I collated the ones he wrote posthumously and published posthumously. I think the driving force was, how do I improve the lives of people? How do I improve my nation? I want my nation to be as good as whatever we think is the best. He wouldn't want to see anybody. There's a poem he wrote when the neighbor will always be beating the child and the child will be crying. According to the poem, he opened the window and saw the woman beating the child. He wrote a poem on that. Why would you beat a child? And why wouldn't somebody else come in to help the child? He also wrote a poem that he is happy wherever he is. What makes him happy is that people around, those he pass along the street, are happy. I think the driving force was to help others. And Nigeria, his own level of patriotism, I don't think you can measure it with any other one. He didn't come here to make money. He had nothing. He left with nothing. When he passed on, it was a battle for us to pay Owakwe's fees again in US. So he didn't accumulate wealth. He went into politics after he had made it. Not what we have now. You go there to make money. He made money. And that is why I am suggesting, before you are elected or go into any, have a profession. You must have a profession, so that if you didn't make it, you go back to your profession.
So it won't be do or die.
Yes, it won't be do or die, or I must be there so that I'll be able to eat, and so on and so forth. So Zik was God sent to Africa, to Nigeria.
Did he ever regret not being the chief executive, like an executive president?
One Nigeria. He sacrificed it for one Nigeria, for Nigeria to be one. Because if he had insisted, both of them, all our forefathers, everybody contributed, but nobody will deny that Zik was the leading star in fighting for Nigeria's independence. But when it came to the point that if a group was not favored, then Nigeria will disintegrate, he said, no. I am happy that Nigeria is free. Whether I am the head, there's a poem on that. Whether I am the head or not is immaterial. I'm just happy that Nigeria is free. So it will hurt him. It will be, nobody will, after fighting, walking, others will come and enjoy, and you just become ceremonial. But it didn't affect him at all. He was happy that Nigeria is free.
Did he ever tell you how he felt when the Civil War
broke out?
When the Civil War broke out, I think he was not happy the way the Igbos were being slaughtered in the north. And that was why he supported Biafra initially. But I don't know, I wasn't there when things started. He was going around for recognition. He got recognition for Biafra from either Kenya, some of these African countries. Yeah. He was responsible for that. He was going around. Yes, at a point, I feel he felt that things were not moving the way we all came in to support Biafra. And that was why he, according to him, instead of sitting and then seeing Igbos exterminated completely is better. He always says it that he who fights and runs away lives to fight another day. And then maybe he has information, nobody knows. Things were not moving fine, no armory, nothing, ragtag army. And then those at the top were not telling people the truth.
So that was why he
deflected. He went to the Nigerian side and started pleading, going to Leopold Senghor, you know, how do we now make peace and so on. I don't want my people to be exterminated, to die.
Okay, Zeke loved to help people. That sustained him. What sustained you? What was the principle behind your struggle, your hunger to improve yourself?
I wanted to measure up to Zeke's wife. And also my father was my parents, in short. My father went to the top in his career, Sergeant Major. In those days, it was something. So I just want to, when they see Mrs. Azikiwe, they'll know that this is Mrs. Azikiwe.
Any regrets?
None at all. I'm happy. None at all. I'm fulfilled. My children, grandchildren, at this age, I'm fulfilled. A professor in Onitsha, I'm a title holder. In the church, I'm a knight. So what else? I'm fulfilled. I'm very happy. No regrets whatsoever.
When you lost him?
Yes.
How did it go?
You know, I told you that we don't go out. 24/7 we are together. So I was just thinking, how am I going to cope? I don't know where they buy the gas for cooking. Nothing, everything was done by this, that, driver, take her, this place, and so on. So I was just thinking, how am I going to cope? Where am I going to begin life again? And
somehow you coped.
Very fine. The Lord is good. The Lord is good.
So if I was just a young woman growing up, in very few sentences, what would be your advice to me?
Go to school. Be educated. You never know where you get into, the type of man you will marry. If it doesn't move on fine, you'll be able to take care of yourself and children. Education is it.
I'd like to thank you for your time.
Thank you so much.
It's been my pleasure speaking with you.
It's a pleasure too.
And that's our program for today, In Your Own Words, and we've been listening to the words of Professor Uche Azikiwe, a young girl so many years ago, and became the wife of the great Zeke of Africa. She didn't stop there. She went on to come to the peak of her profession and became a professor. Thank you again for coming on our program.
It's my pleasure.
I'm Obi Orindo. Let's do it again, same time next week.
Signature morning. Friday it is, of course, we are quarter to the weekend. Hope you're good. So things are beginning to be quiet across the country. Looked at Lagos, looked at Kano, Kaduna, and even Abuja. We're seeing the numbers dwindle. In some places, it has completely subsided. We have our reporter down in Abuja who would give us a little bit of updates on what's going on in Abuja. Godwin, thank you for joining us. Good morning.
Good morning, Charles. Good morning.
So we understand that Abuja was one of the centers that protesters trooped out in their numbers. How is it like right now?
All right. So basically, Abuja this morning is a bit calm. And for the last 2 days, we've not seen an active protest in Abuja. We saw the last active protest on Wednesday. Yesterday, it rained all through in Abuja, so there was not really an active protest yesterday. This morning, we're still keeping our fingers crossed, but there's still heavy security presence across Abuja right now. From the entry point of Abuja, you're coming in from Maraba, that is from the Nasarawa axis of Abuja. There's heavy security presence, and most if you are using the motorcycle, you have to come down to push your bike through the security checkpoint. That's from Nasarawa axis. If you're coming in from Kogi State, you have to also, there's heavy security checkpoints also from Kogi State, coming in from Kwali into Abuja. There's heavy security presence from that axis this morning also. If you're coming in from Niger State this morning, there is heavy security presence also from Niger State, that's coming from Zuba axis of Abuja. And so we see a lot of security presence in Abuja. What we don't understand is if the security presence are there to ward off the protesters in Abuja, because so far so good, we've not really seen. Even the streets of Abuja coming from Kubwa down to the central business district, it's just a security presence around. Military officers park their trucks around the vicinity. Coming in from Nyanya also through to EYA, you see a lot of security vehicles on the street. And also, when you come in, you see armored trucks moving about, and police are still tying the red on them. We don't know if we are in a near war situation, though, but this is the current and latest situation in Abuja. But more also, we also have the DSS raiding coming to say that they didn't raid the NLC office that was alleged raided on Wednesday. Yeah. But yesterday, the DSS spokesperson have come out to say they didn't do that. So we're still keeping our fingers crossed that we'll be having more things unfold in Abuja this morning. And not forgetting that yesterday also we were at an event yesterday when the Minister of Women Affairs walked in and out to stop the event in Abuja. A lot of things are happening in Abuja. Interesting conversations are happening in Abuja between yesterday and the day before yesterday and yesterday.
What about the business? What about business in Abuja? I mean, has it come back to normal? Yes, you have said security agencies are littered around this federal capital, but are people going about their normal businesses? Are the shops open as a normal business day in Abuja?
Okay, so speaking of shops right now, we know everybody have to open one side of the shop with one eye open, and then when you see protests coming in. But so far, so good. All markets in Abuja are fully open for operation so far. Business activities have returned almost back to normalcy. We're seeing secretariats being open right now, and people are going to their offices. Banks are open, even though most of the banks will have to open between the hours of 9 to 3. But the banks are open right now. So business operations in Abuja are bouncing back with speed. And also the market, not everywhere you find markets opening up. Looking at places coming from Lupi access, most of the markets are open. But there again, we have a lot of markets that are not fully in operation right now. But business and economic-wise, the federal capital territory this morning, and as of yesterday, it's bouncing back with speed. We now have more trucks and more cars on the roads right now against what we have on Wednesday. So, but the big challenge, I think, for now is that is even scaling the business operations in the federal capital right now is the issue of enforced scarcity. Yeah, so that's what is even scaling the economic and progressions in the demonstrations across the federal capital territory, even this morning. So you have to leave your home at 5 a.m. to go get fuel.
Okay.
And you have to stay in the long queue till God knows when. But that's the situation in Abuja economically.
Okay.
Bouncing back with speed.
Are you able to speak to any of the leaders of the protests, whether you saw them in the news or maybe on social media, talking about what they have achieved with this protest? Do you think that they have achieved anything at all as regards to Abuja? Because a while ago, we saw a trend on Twitter specifically saying "Occupy Abuja." So, and now we're seeing some scantiness. There isn't any protesters anywhere, like you have reported. Businesses are bouncing back, unlike what it used to be. Is this the end of the protest, you think, in Abuja?
Okay, so basically, I don't think it's the end of the protest here in the Federal Capital Territory. What the security operatives are trying to do is to try to douse the situation. But then again, we spoke with some protesters in Chikoi. That was where was allegedly where we had gunshots, that we had videos circulating on the social media. There was gunshots everywhere. So we're there yesterday to do the findings and speak to some of the protesters. And speaking from that angle, most of the protesters are not shielding their sword anytime soon. That's what it seems. That's why most people are saying Occupy Abuja is trending on Twitter, because they are saying they've not gotten the presidents to speak to their demand. So we're still looking forward to the protests today, which our ears are still on the ground. But coming from some of the protesters yesterday that didn't come out because of the rain, they were just hanging in different spots, waiting to assemble. But because of the rain, they could not assemble. So, but what we got from them is that they're not shooting their sword anytime soon. Though the security operatives are trying to make them not to come out, just to be in whatever means they can. But the protesters are not holding back anytime soon. So we hope to see more activities from the protest today in Abuja. But we're still looking at it from another perspective also right now, which has to do with the fact that most protesters in Abuja right now are a little bit fed up with the protest. You understand? Because of the many security and military interventions. Taking that of Lani, that was arrested by the DSS or known security operatives, which we just said is allegedly DSS, because DSS have not come out to confirm that report that Lani is in their custody. So, looking at that incident where you pick up the alleged leader of the protest, you pick him up, and other security threats have been posed. So these are, in a way, deterred the protesters from wanting to come out for fear of being arrested or who's next to be picked up. But then again, the people we spoke with, the young people we spoke with yesterday, are not giving up anytime soon. But we hope that we get to see more resolution reached by the government, and we hope that the military will not try to stop the protesters. If they want to, I think they should just guide them. But that's the update right now from the protesters that we spoke with in Abuja and what they think about the protest. And we are hoping that they don't come out today, but if they come out, of course, I'll definitely keep you posted on what's going on from Abuja.
Okay, it's almost 9 a.m. And you mentioned because there was heavy downpour in Abuja yesterday, it most likely disrupted the protest yesterday. So you are anticipating that there might be protests today?
Most likely there might be protests. There might likely be protests today in Abuja. The likelihood of protests not holding in Abuja is very slim.
Okay.
Because of the downpour yesterday, that's basically why they didn't come out. But we hope there might likely be a protest today in Abuja.
What about the day before yesterday? Well, was there a protest?
Okay, the day before, that was on a Wednesday. Yeah, of course there was a protest in Abuja. There was a heavy protest at Nyanya Access. The protest has moved now from MK Abiola Stadium. It has moved from MK Abiola Stadium. It's now at the Nyanya Access of Abuja. So there was heavy protest on Wednesday in Abuja, and the police at the point were throwing tear gas as at early hours of protests across the state, across the federal capital territory, and outside the federal capital territory.
Okay.
You see how some happening around them, that's in Nasarawa access. That immediately after Abuja, those ones that cannot come into Abuja because of the security presence, and the security men are trying to stop them. You see them trying to assemble at that side and still carrying their placard that end bad governance. But the day before there was a protest in Abuja, but it was not as heavy as the first 3 days. But then they came out also to protest in Abuja.
There was this controversy between the FCT minister and the Senate representing FCT. The FCT minister was accusing the senator of sponsoring the protesters, which the senator has come out to debunk. Can you give us an update on that, and how is the FCT minister reacting to this latest development?
All right, so there's been this controversy also from the FCT minister and that of the senator representing representing the federal capital territory. They've been on loggerhead for a while now. They've been on loggerhead for over what we can't even explain. It has just been there for a while. So we don't know. There's been these allegations and counter allegations from the minister and the senator representing the federal capital territory. But then, because some of the allegations are unfounded, and so when you speak to the FCT minister, he doesn't want to talk about it. You speak to the senator representing. So we begin to wonder where some of these speculations are coming from, because none of them want to openly speak about some of the alleged allegations that are being said right now. Some of the things we reached out to the FCT minister's spokesperson yesterday. And he said his boss doesn't want to respond to this. He doesn't want to have. If he wants to talk to press about these issues, he will have to organize a press conference to talk about it. But anything that is not coming from their office is not authentic. We shouldn't take that too hard. So I think at this point, if none of them wants to openly talk about the sponsor of the protest by either party, I think it's just reaches in cloud at this point in time. So I do want to delve into it because whatever we give out there has to be authentic and has to be real. But so far so good. None of them have come out to authenticate some of the unfounded reports that we have circulating even on the social media space.
Okay, the DSS, now the DSS is saying it's not them. Security agencies, let me put it that way, invaded NLC office, specifically their bookstore, taking away a lot of materials. I don't know what update you have regarding that. The DSS is saying they're not the ones that raided that bookstore, and NLC is saying that they are the ones that raided that bookstore. I'm wondering what update you have with that. The DSS clearly said, or the security agencies clearly said, that they came out to take some paraphernalia that are being used for the protest. How true is that? Have you followed that report? What's the update?
All right. So even this morning, we'll still do a follow-up on that report again to give you to bring you up to speed to what's going on in the NLC office. Now, it's quite interesting where we begin to get allegations and accusations and counter accusations from the DSS through to the NLC. The question we are asking at this point is it possible for we to have DSS operating? There was no CCTV camera to capture that moment. And a lot of questions that are begging for answers right now. Is it possible for this office, which is just at Eagle's Eye, just in front of us here, is it possible for them to leave their office, drive down to NLC, and there was no record of that? So these are questions that keep begging for answer. One would have expected that if the NLC are saying that the DSS invaded our office, at least there should be some clips or something to show in order to ascertain that fact that we really invaded the office. Now, the security person that they said was on ground when the DSS invaded the office. That time has not even... The security man, we hope to have a talk with him later today, but the NLC again has instructed none of his staff to step foot on that office going forward. That's pending when they are sure that the DSS have done all their scrutinization and also all their what do you call it, all their due
Investigations.
processes in terms of the investigation that they are carrying out. But we're still looking at it from another light. Even from this morning, we are just discussing it also this morning, early this morning in the office there. Try to map out all of these things and try to put one or two together to help Nigerians make sense with the conversations around DSS office, even as of this morning. But we hope that what if it can just be an allegation from the DSS office and also that of the NLC. But as it stands right now, it is more of we're using local man palace. It's a gas goes from the DSS and that of the Nigerian Labour Congress. So most of the reports right now are not holding water because none of them is coming out again to submit any form of video evidence to show that this really happened. But when we get to the the NLC office later today, we should be able to find out from them what the true state of things and if they have video that they want to share with us. And of course, we will make it public for Nigerians to see on live on Signature TV.
All right then. Godwin Sunday, many thanks for your reporting. We truly appreciate it. So we're expecting some update from you later today.
Most definitely, Charles. Thank you so much.
All right. So we're headed for a short break. When we return, we'll switch gears to some other discussions that would interest you. Do stay with us. This is Signature Morning.
the relatives, they are usually torn on their flesh. Once your coverage is gone, it will just be like as if they've been waiting for opportunity like that to tell you the kind of people they are. So they go through a lot. One, taking the properties away from them, especially the Igbos. If you are not fortunate to have a male child, in quotes, you stand no chance of getting anything as you ought to, because it was your husband that worked for those things. Your relatives would just come out from nowhere, even though they've never showed face. But you begin to see that you have a lot of relatives hidden because they've seen opportunity. They would just like ants, they would just invest on you and take out all things that you ought to take as the wife of the man that just left. So they stand no chance of fighting for themselves.
Unfortunately, in our society, widows are subjected to inhuman treatment. For instance, sometimes a man dies and the wife is accused of having a hand in the death, and some negative things are done. One of which includes, in some communities, they say we must bet you, we must bet the dead person, and you drink the water to prove that you don't have a hand in the death of the man. And this is a person, a woman who should be grieving for losing her husband, and she is being subjected to inhuman treatment. So the way we treat widows are just very bad.
I'm speaking based on context I have seen. Sometimes widows are not treated properly when their husband dies. Sometimes they are subjected to some kind of measures and situations that are very difficult for them to handle, especially during the time of the bereavement. So I think they need more support from their husbands, people, from the community, and from the society in general. Their own family members, like from their siblings, need to rally around them. But in more precise way, I think the husband's people need to be by their side to help them process what has just happened, rather than sometimes, burdening them and loading them with even sometimes accusations as to having contributed to the death of the man, which has happened in some instances.
I will address it in two arms. First off, widows should have rights in Nigeria. Why I say widows should have rights in Nigeria is, firstly, these are people that just lost their loved one, and the society sometimes, under the native law and custom of the Igbos especially, most times they don't even see the widow as somebody that should inherit the estates of the deceased. Why? It's because they feel, especially for the people that never gave birth to a male child, they will see them that they don't have the capacity to be administrators of their husband's estate. Uncles that are greedy will always feast on those things and take up the properties of this widow. Secondly, under Nigerian native law and custom, women generally are not even seen to be part of people that should inherit properties, even from their paternal side, talk more of their husband's side. But good enough that under the law, there is a Supreme Court decision that says, in the case of Ukeja and Ukeja, that a woman can actually inherit the properties of the father.
Some are being treated rightly, while some are not. But if you talk about e-treatment, maybe you can be talking about in terms of properties. Let me talk in legal aspect of it, because we see a lot of cases like that in court whenever maybe a husband is dead and the family members are trying to take away the property, not minding that the deceased has family, have children to take care of. And it's also through that property that these children can be taken care of. But some of them are being taken away their properties and all that, which is very bad. is very, very bad. We have a lot of them in courts. So we try as much as we can to help them in any way we can. So there are some culture that's not fair to say. I won't say that I don't know some cultures that's not fair. At that aspect, we need to come in and help. There are many of them, many of them.
But today we're going to be switching gears right now. We're going to be talking about unemployment. This is one of the major problems in this country, Nigeria. We have a population of over 210 million people, and more than 60% of that are actually youth. But that number is staggering because more than half of that number is in the employability range and age, but there isn't any job at all. But then what is the major cause of why people are not employed? Is it that there are no jobs, or the fact that there are jobs, but most Nigerian graduates are not employable? Well, joining us to talk about this even further is Executive Director, Employment for the Unemployed, Solomon Adojo. Good to have you, sir. Good morning. Hello, Solomon. Can you hear me? Solomon, can you hear me? Solomon Adodo, can you hear me? Okay, he's actually on Zoom, and he is in Abuja. We had connected to him earlier. I wanted to be sure that he could hear me. If you can you unmute your mic, Mr. Solomon? Hello, Mr. Solomon, can you hear me? Okay, your mic is on mute. Can you unmute your mic, please? Okay, maybe we'll do that shortly, but I would need you to understand that employment has been a major issue in Nigeria in the last 20 years, 30 years or 40 years if you want. And it's not because there isn't any job, according to some statistics, but because some of our graduates that have actually left school are not employable. One wonders how on earth did they get their graduate certificates without even being employable. So we'll talk about that in the next ray, why that is happening. But we'll go on a short break. When we get back, hopefully we must have connected to Mr. Solomon Adodo, who is in Abuja, Vazum. Do stay with us. Welcome back. This is Signature Morning. I'm sure that Mr. Solomon Adodo has joined us via Zoom. Good to have you, sir. Good morning.
You too.
Hello, Mr. Solomon. Can you hear me?
I can hear you clear.
Okay, just a straight question. Which one is it? As someone who is executive director of employment for the unemployed, is it that there are no jobs or that the youths out of our schools are not employable?
Yeah. One of them is the fact that the jobs that are available are very few. So we would say that there are no jobs. That is the blunt truth. However, we need to be very innovative to create new jobs. Can you hear me clearly?
Yes, please go ahead.
And this is where the place of skills come in. Because if we look around us, there's no excuse for Nigerians to say we're unemployed. We have vast lands. We could go into agriculture. We have other potentials, areas of comparative advantages across the diverse regions. So what do we call employment? Employment is creating value for money and earning something in return. But you find a situation where all across the country, everything we are consuming is foreign-made goods or are foreign-made goods imported into the country. So if we need to solve the issue of unemployment, the place of skills development is there, but that should not be an excuse because there is a disconnect. Government policies, government projects, government programs are not properly integrated and geared towards creating new jobs. So we cannot begin to say that the youth are not skilled enough. For what jobs are we talking about? Where are the jobs that the people are not skilled to do? So that is not an excuse. And even if we say that the youth are not skilled enough, why can we not train the youth properly?
Okay, for you, what are the main factors contributing to the high unemployability rate of the Nigerian graduates?
Well, there are no factors. It is just one, absence of productivity. You understand? If there is proper productivity, if there is proper productivity, Can you get me clear?
Yes, go ahead. We can hear you.
Okay. So if there is proper productivity today, there will be more jobs created. Go into agriculture. Today, one of our key challenges is the issue of food security. If we cultivate lands, are we not creating jobs for the youth? We get tractors, we get the fields cleared properly, we provide proper security there. I am using an earpiece here. It is made in China or made in one of those countries. If the youth are not trained, our electrical and electronics engineers, assemble them together. It doesn't take so much. Let them know what it takes. In most of these countries, it is even little children that manufacture these devices that they import and create wealth for their country. So it is the absence of productivity. And the current government should not toe the path of the previous government. Let us look very deeply. It is not even enough to begin to throw funds to say, oh, we are budgeting 100 billion for this, we are budgeting 100 billion for youth investment funds. Are we having a cluster where every fund injected will be geared towards productivity?
Okay, so for you, as someone who has been in this sphere, who has played in this sphere for a long time, what what exactly do you think that were the problems with our university curriculum? Do you think that our university curriculum align with the fact that Nigerian youth are not employable?
Well, I think for the university curriculum, we really need to look into it again. Because what we do when they say in the academic, let the town meet the gown, let your research meet reality. You understand? Let whatever you learn be translated to productivity. And that is where the disconnect is. But that is not even an excuse, because these are just little dots that should be corrected to get your striation or your line of production. So in looking at our academic curricula, both from the secondary schools to the primary schools, what is this road that I think you know? Both from the secondary schools to the primary to the universities, we need to align them to productivity. So if it is not aligned with productivity, for instance, someone who studies electrical electronics engineering, most of them cannot even fit things properly. Someone who studied mechanical engineering does not even have the room to practice what he has studied in the university. So we need to have a system where our universities are very productive.
So what kind of change do you advise for the university to have when it comes to changing of their curriculum? What exactly do you think that people can we can infuse so as to make our youth employable when they're out of school?
The university itself should be an employment ground. So it should be like an apprenticeship system where in this Igbo apprenticeship system, the apprentice that is learning is also trading and creating wealth for his master. At the end of his learning, he is settled and he can also practice what he learned. So what stops us in our university from having that kind of system? For instance, if you are studying agriculture, which I did in the university, you should be able to have farm plots where you can be farming and producing. Those in agro processing should practically be processing whatever they are producing also. Those in marketing should also practically be going into the field. So everything that we do should be geared towards practical productivity. If you are studying mechanical engineering, you should be able to produce some small mechanics. Even if it is the keke napep, if it is tricycles, if it is the engines of vehicles, produce it. We have the population,
that will take it. If we can have even one university across each of the zones as centers of excellence or model or pilot centers where the real essence of a university will be felt, I think we'll be on the right path to progress again.
How much collaborations do you think that the universities should have with industries in order to enable our students ready for jobs after school?
The collaboration is it should be a multi-pronged collaboration. It is very missing, and that is what should be brought back. The industrial training fund, which is expected to give the students practical knowledge, is not even getting its full essence. I can tell you that. So there needs to be a lot needs to be done. The NUC need to have a visitation team consistently and constantly to see what is happening. It is not enough to accredit universities and then go to bed.
All right. Are you done? Are you done on that point?
I think that's a lot for that, because the blunt truth is there must be practical collaboration. Okay. Collaborate with industries, and again, let's be emphatic. Most of these industries are also comatose. For instance, somebody who is studying mechanical engineering, there's a limit to what he can do, because we have very few mechanical production fields across Nigeria, or mechanical production industries across Nigeria. Somebody who is studying agricultural engineering also, most of our agri equipment are manufactured from outside. So it has to be a multi-pronged collaboration, like we stated. You know, the government on one side, the industries on the other hand, the academics on the other hand. You know, let the town meet the gown.
Okay, in comparison with what we see outside the country, when you are on a certain path, you know, of a certain course, say maybe you are doing an agricultural course, you tend to follow through those courses until the very end, maybe owning a value chain of an agricultural sector, or maybe even owning a farm, as the case may be. But in this part of the world, we've seen people who do maybe the same course, say an agricultural course, you find them in the banks. Some study banking and finance, you see them, you know, probably doing a driving job, you know. Do you think there's a problem with our educational system, so much so that people study certain things in university and they come out and they become something else?
The problem is not with the educational system, because if you study banking and finance and there are jobs in the bank, you will work in the bank. If you studied mechanical engineering and you studied it properly and there are jobs in that sector, you will work in that sector. So the problem is that we need to expand our frontiers of productivity. The key point is productivity, productivity, productivity. Now, the current government is making some efforts which we must doff our hats for them. Under the Ministry of Industry, Trade and Investment, various schemes have come on board, various programs have come on board, but we are also calling on the government, we are calling on the president, we are calling on the minister, we are calling on all stakeholders in that sector. Let us ensure that whatever funds are injected towards productivity. Yes, let new industries sprout up.
All right. We're wrapping up now. Just on a final note, do you think individuals, people who are unemployed at the moment, have a role to play, you know, in being employable?
Yes, it's a collaborative thing. The government must create an enabling environment, including the fact that there should be injection of funds. Then the young Nigerians who are unemployed should also develop themselves and be willing to participate in this, because in the factors of production, you cannot eliminate the human factor. So there needs to be training, there needs to be an inclusion. You who is looking for a job, you come up with an innovative idea. What we're also advising the government to do, we've seen in Asia, in the late 80s and early 90s, particularly I think around Singapore and Korea, they had what we call chaebols, that's small emerging enterprises that the government funded to become mega enterprises. Some of them were like companies like ENUGU. We saw companies like Samsung emerging from nothing to becoming a major dominant player in the electronics sector, and so on and so forth. So the government in Nigeria should also do the same. However, the youth must also organize itself. Yes, let us see how we can set up a conglomerate, maybe young people coming together with united ideas, even if it's 50 people or 100, and say, this is the industry we want to play in or invest in. Then key into the programs of government. For instance, if we have a credit support scheme under the Ministry of Trade and Investment that gives an individual 5 or 10 million, if 10 people come together, you can access up to 100 million, 10 million. And if 50 come together, you can access up to 500 million.
Right.
Yeah, so that is what we should do. There should be a proper organizing on the part of the youth also, and then to key into the available programs of government. The end point should be that every input should give us significant output.
All right.
Yes.
Solomon Adojo, Executive Director, Employment for Unemployed. Thank you this morning for your time. Truly appreciate.
Thank you very much for having me on Signature TV. God bless Nigeria.
God bless Nigeria indeed. We're back shortly after this. Do stay with us.
Me too, I'm also a graduate, and since I graduated, things has been so much very hard, because in this country today, if you don't have someone in the government or in upper, all these things, you find it difficult to get a job. Even when you merit it, it will still be difficult for you. So as it stands now, not only the youth, the whole country is facing challenge of hardship, you understand, because even our age parents that spend their hard-earned money to train us, expecting us to be training them back at this time of their old age, still we have nothing to offer them because of the country in it. But I wouldn't say that we are going to relent. We will still trying to, we continue to push harder, even if it is learning handwork in order to earn a living, because I know that certainly one day that certificate is going to bring work, and a better one at that.
The level of unemployment in Nigeria is maximum. There's nothing to talk about it. The government are not doing anything. See youths, every time they will graduate, no work. After graduation, it seems that those people that even left school to learn skills, they are even better than us that are graduates.
I don't believe there is unemployment. There is no unemployment in Nigeria. Being in Nigeria makes you unemployed. What do I mean by that? For me, I can't be unemployed. I'm an entrepreneur, I'm a chef. So I started cooking from a tender age. I learned it from my mom, then I furthered into catering school. So I feel the parental upbringing should also help in curbing unemployment. So I don't think there is unemployment. Anybody that is unemployed in Nigeria just chose to be unemployed. The problem we have in Nigeria is we always look at the government. We always look up to the government. This time around, we don't need to look at the government. We should try to strive. We should try to, like this I can't be unemployed. I keep using myself as an example. I employ people. I'm a chef. I cook. I run Uta's mobile services. So I don't see the reason why there should be unemployment. Let us leave government aside. Though we need them. And that is where we should come together and look at their policies. Checkmate policies. That is where we will start looking at government. But if we are waiting for government to provide everything, it's not in Nigeria.
Like me now, I graduated in 2019 from Delta State University, and since then I haven't got a job. I've been doing everything on my own. That is why I decided to join this skill acquisition, which is investing into agriculture, and that is why I'm here today, so that I can improve myself in agriculture. And government needs to understand and hear about this as well, because they need to improve as well in providing job opportunities for students as well.
It's actually unemployment that can actually lead so many youths into doing so many awful things, which doesn't really make any sense in the society, because it can actually, how will I say it? It can actually place so many people let me just say, for example, into stealing, into robbing, and sometimes even like changing from what they are to what they are not.
Welcome back. This is Signature Morning on the first day of the weekend. It's a Friday. Hope you're good out there. It's the ninth day in the month of August. And today we are going to be talking about something very important, and it concerns food. Federal government recently said that they're removing import duties and some waivers as well from some goods that will be imported into the country because they want the food prices to crash in the market. Food prices are off the roof. As a matter of fact, the last check is over 40% in terms of inflation, and the common man are screaming. Part of the reasons why most Nigerians went on the streets on the 1st of August, even up until now, protesting the hardship. And so the government, amongst other things, trying to beat the tide, cutting down on food prices. And one of the ways that they're looking to do that is to remove or suspend the duties on imported food items. How much would that do? To what extent can that go in terms of reducing the cost of food prices in the market? We have live with us via Zoom a professor of the Faculty of Agriculture at Crowther University, Professor Adeolu Moses. Good to have you. Good morning, sir.
Good morning, listeners. Good morning, presenter. Good morning, Signature TV. It gives me a great pleasure to be on this show this morning to discuss the topic of interest. Thank you.
All right, Prof. Do you think this would in any way go any further to help with ameliorating the prices of the high cost of food prices in the market, and how so?
Yeah, thank you very much. Let me start by saying that this policy of government to suspend or to provide waivers by suspending customs duties and tariffs and taxes on some food crops, food items that we consume in this country is a welcome development. Simply because for this kind of an economy that we have in this country, we need to revive the human capital first and foremost in order for us to make progress. People are hungry, people are hungry, the country is just in the bad shape. We must first and foremost provide what people need to get back on track, and that is food. And any step that the government will take to do this would be a step in the right direction. That is why, in my opinion, I feel that the step to waive custom duties on food items is a welcome idea. Yes, the impact will be significant if and only if the government is ready to put in place mechanisms that we ensure that we allow the imported food to get to the market. Because definitely there will be businessmen who will be part of the process of bringing in the food. The food will not come from the shelves. It is a process. Importation of food, importation of anything to the country is a process, and a a process that can be complicated. is not taken. So government must ensure that the food that being imported from next week, according to them, get to the markets. The government must have the will to ensure that these food items get to the market so that the masses, the Nigerian masses, can go to the market and have access to these subsidized food materials. As soon as our government is able to do that, as soon as that is done and the food materials get to the market, definitely the prices of food that is over the roof now will come down. As you rightly put it, as of today, inflation, food inflation is 40.87%. That is way too high. So that is really creating a lot of hardships in Nigerian homes. With this policy, we hope that our government will ensure that these food items get to the market, that they don't end up in the warehouses of the businessmen who will, after the 150 window that the wafer has been suspended, who will now push the food back into the market at exorbitant prices. We hope that our government will not allow this to happen. Yeah.
I see that farmers are already crying foul. They're saying that removal of or suspension of these import duties would affect them drastically. What for you are the economic impact of this removal of, or the suspension of the waiver on farmers, and the long-term effect as well?
Thank you very much. I think our farmers are right for crying foul about this policy, because the impact of the policy will mean that the local production will be put in reverse gear as a result of this policy of government. Local production will be put in reverse gear, and our farmers will be negatively affected. Because for now, farmers get agricultural inputs such as fertilizers, chemicals, herbicides, pesticides, and other necessary agricultural inputs at exorbitant prices because of the problem of the exchange rate, the Naira to dollar exchange rate. Naira has fallen so significantly. The purchasing power of our farmers has been taken away as a result of this development. Agricultural inputs are very expensive in the market, and farmers have been purchasing these agricultural inputs to put their crops on the field. The crops are still on the field now, and then government is going to provide wafer, is going to lift customs duties and bring in food from other countries. And when these food items come